Millionaire exposed hidden truth. An amazing date with his daughter transforms everything forever. Tom's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his silver watch, eyes flickering nervously over the diner. The familiar walls, adorned with framed photos of local history, felt suffocating now. For a self-made millionaire like him, this was supposed to be a comfortable reunion, an opportunity to reconnect with his daughter, Emily. Instead, a tight knot of anxiety twisted in his stomach. Just last week, she had shut down his overtures, her frustration spilling over as she accused him of turning their lives into a business venture. While the image of a perfect family broadcasted online, Tom felt the widening chasm between them grow each day. The busy hum of the diner clinking cutlery, sizzling grills was a stark contrast to the silence that loomed around their booth. "You remember how to order?" he joked softly, trying to inject levity into the atmosphere. Emily's eyes were studying him, guarded and distant. He remembered how they used to laugh together, but those days seemed to evaporate with each success he achieved. He felt trapped, suffocating beneath the weight of his own desires for her. He wanted her to be as driven, as successful, yet each moment only reminded him of Emily's desire to breathe apart from those soaring expectations. "Dad, I'm okay," she replied curtly, only picking at her meal. The unease wrapped tighter around Tom. How had he let it come to this? Hadn't he sacrificed enough to shield her from the failures of their past? It was instinct, the drive to turn everything he touched into gold. Yet now it felt like he was crushing her spirit instead. It was that familiar dread creeping back, the fear of losing not only this dinner, but his daughter entirely. Before the silence morphed into an unbearable weight, he decided to share a story he had kept close. "You know, my father once ran a small shop," he began, heart pounding as he opened a door to his past he had long kept shut. "A business rival destroyed everything overnight. I swore I wouldn't let that happen to you." As he recounted his childhood, Tom's layers of fear and pride unraveled in the glow of vulnerability. Each revelation cut deeper, yet also connected him with Emily in ways he hadn't anticipated. The restaurant facade of success peeled back, revealing the scars of hardship beneath. At first, Emily listened with skepticism, but as he carried on, she leaned in, intrigued. "So you were just trying to protect me?" she questioned, her tone softening. The weight lifted slightly as they began to share a new understanding. In that moment, a spark ignited, inspiring Emily to share her own aspirations of reforming the town and injecting life into the weary Main Street. Their dreams intertwined like vines seeking sunlight. Before they could delve deeper into this budding partnership, Tom's phone buzzed aggressively on the table. The message was curt, laden with malice. A call from an old ally of his father's rival, reminding him of unspoken consequences. Tom felt a chill run through his spine. He exchanged a glance with Emily, a flicker of fear lingering. Had they somehow drawn attention to themselves without meaning to? "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The tension surged. Tom felt sweat collecting at his brow while Emily's expression shifted from hope to anxious determination. Would they stand united as the telephone ring echoed ominously in their ears? The risk loomed, hanging heavy, a perilous crossroads of ambition and fear that could redefine their roles as father and daughter forever. The dinner they imagined as a simple reconnection quickly morphed into something much larger, leaving them stranded on the brink of judgment and defiance. The diner buzzed with life around them, yet Tom felt more isolated than ever. The looming threat from his past was a constant weight against his chest. He closed his eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply, as if trying to outrun the pulse of fear hammering in his ears. This was not merely a phone call. It was a reminder that his past was a shadow that could expose their fragile connection at any moment. "Dad?" Emily's voice broke through his thoughts, her brow furrowed with concern. "Are you okay?" Tom opened his eyes, forcing a smile that felt barely authentic. "I'm fine. Just lost in thought." He wanted to shield her from the storm brewing inside him, to protect this moment they were crafting together. But he realized then that real protection would mean facing these fears head-on, not sweeping them under the rug where they could fester. About what I said, she continued, her voice calmer and steadier. The plans for the main street, they're not just dreams for me. They're a passion. I want to bring something real and lasting, not too far removed from your story. Her words sank in, resonating with the dreamer in him. It sparked a recognition within Tom. He had built his empire by pursuing dreams. Yet he had almost suffocated Emily's passions with his aspirations. What if we partnered? You could use the experience I've gathered, and we could learn from each other. Emily's eyes lit up momentarily, but the flicker dimmed just as quickly. Do you really mean that? Or is it just another way to shape my future into something you expect from me? Stung by her honesty, Tom leaned back, realizing the gravity of his contradiction. I see now that I've been holding on too tightly. But I want to learn, Emily. Not just as a father but as a partner. His sincerity bled through, revealing the raw edge of vulnerability he had tried to conceal. Just as they were starting to bridge their emotional chasm, the phone buzzed again, this time demanding immediate attention. With trepidation, Tom glanced at the screen. The message read, "Do not meet. We know where you are." A chill washed over him, cementing the feeling that they were being watched. He swallowed hard, the gravity of the situation pressing upon him like an avalanche. "We may need to leave," he said hoarsely, glancing at Emily, whose face reflected a storm of confusion and fear. "Leave? Why? What's going on?" Her initial curiosity evaporated, replaced by panic. "Something from my past is coming back. But listen to me, whatever happens, I won't let anyone come between us again," he insisted, the conviction igniting a stronger determination within him. He didn't just have to protect her, he had to show her what true partnership looked like. As they rose from the booth, Tom realized the stakes had evolved. This wasn't just about reclaiming their relationship, but safeguarding the vision they shared. Every moment counted now. "Let us go to the office," he suggested urgently. It was a decision steeped in his resolve to face not just the repercussions of his past, but also to foster Emily's passion in an environment that might still hold opportunity. As they stepped into the cool evening air, a new dynamic crackled between them. No longer bound by the past's heavy chains, they ventured into uncertainty with renewed purpose. The world had always been daunting when faced alone, but together, they could face whatever awaited them. Little did Tom know, as they approached his office, that the greatest revelation was yet to come, one that would redefine everything he thought he knew about himself as a father. Would he be able to confront the source of his past? Or would it dismantle the fragile relationship he was desperately trying to build with Emily? The office loomed ahead, its familiar facade no longer a sanctuary but a potential battleground. Tom's heart raced, each beat a reminder of the escalating stakes. As they stepped inside, the cool, sterile air felt heavy with unspoken truths and unresolved tensions. Shutting the door behind them, he turned to Emily, whose eyes were wide with apprehension. "What do we do now?" Emily's question hung in the air. Her voice trembled, betraying the strength she had shown moments before. Tom had always prided himself on remaining composed under pressure, but this time uncertainty gnawed at him. "We devise a plan," he replied, a hint of steel returning to his tone. "First, we need to assess the threat and secure our position." The immediacy of his words soothed him, guiding his focus away from the chaos swirling in his mind. He'd always been a strategist in business, and now it was time to apply that same mindset to his deeply personal crisis. He moved toward his desk, where scattered papers marred the tidy surface. Shuffling through them, Tom gathered the remnants of his recent projects, a community development initiative, investment proposals, and a scribbled note from Emily detailing her ideas for the main street. As he paused to absorb the vision she had for their town, a shudder of guilt washed over him. This project was supposed to signal their fresh start, a way to nurture both his and Emily's aspirations. Now, it might serve as a catalyst for something far different. "Tom?" Emily's voice broke through his reverie again. "You said you wanted to partner with me. I need you to be honest. What does the past really mean for us right now?" Her inquiry struck at the core of his fears. He had promised to protect her, but could he truly keep that promise when shadows from his past loomed larger? A wave of vulnerability surged through him. For too long he had hidden behind his successes, using the narrative of a driven entrepreneur to shield himself from the weight of his failures. It's complicated, he admitted, fighting the urge to downplay the gravity of the situation. My past, it involves some choices I'm not proud of. There are people who feel betrayed by those choices, and they might see you as a way to get to me. Emily absorbed his words, processing them with an intensity that made him proud. But if we're going to move forward together, you need to confront this. Whatever it is, it's clearly part of your story, our story now. Her resolve sparked something inside Tom. If he wanted to be the father, the partner that she needed, he had a choice. To confront his history or allow it to overshadow their future. Okay, he said, firming his posture as he turned to face her directly. I'll meet with them. I'll face whatever it is lurking in the shadows. But I want you to be by my side. This isn't just about me anymore. Emily nodded, determination firming her expression. And we'll do this together. No more secrets. The gravity of their decision hung in the room, a pact forged in the fires of their shared fears and aspirations. The journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty, yet he felt a flicker of hope. This effort to reclaim his past while nurturing their bond could be the catalyst they both needed. As Tom set up a meeting for later, his phone buzzed once more, the screen revealing an unknown number. He hesitated before answering, the tension coiling tight within him. This could be the actual confrontation he had anticipated. Tom glanced sideways at Emily, her unwavering gaze a lifeline amidst the gathering storm. In that moment he understood. Change was not just about overcoming his past, but also about redefining their future together, no matter the cost. As he answered the call, a voice emerged from the other end, chilling him to the bone. You thought you could escape us, Tom, but we have unfinished business. The walls of the office began to close in as his plans transformed before his eyes. A test of their newfound resolve was upon them. Tom felt the sharp edge of the voice slicing through the air, leaving no room for doubt. He straightened, instinct kicking in as he clutched the phone with white-knuckled intensity. Who is this? His voice was steady, though it masked the turmoil brewing inside. Let us just say I represent those whom you crossed. And now your little plan to start fresh? It's not going to be that easy. We need to talk. The voice coiled like a snake, deceptive and menacing. The line went dead, leaving Tom staring at the screen, pulse racing. They're waiting for me, he murmured, barely above a whisper. Emily's watchful gaze grounded him, the reminder of their united front forming an impenetrable barrier against the shadow of his past. What now? Emily asked, her eyes reflecting unwavering support but clouded with concern. It's time to confront it all, Tom replied, swallowing hard. Every instinct screamed at him to retreat, to lock the door against the chaos, but he was different now. No longer would he hide. The price was too steep. We need to prepare for the meeting. Emily's expression softened, but there was a tenacity in her voice as she suggested, let us write everything down. Every detail you remember from that time, every person who's involved. We can strategize. Together they spread out sheets of paper across his desk, the clutter transforming into a canvas of his past. Tom rummaged through memories, unearthing long-buried mistakes. He felt vulnerable, stripped of the armor he'd worn so long, his success, his role as a mentor, and even the protective bubble he had created around Emily and his future family. I was ambitious, maybe too ambitious, he reflected aloud, jotting down names of former colleagues and clients who had been negatively impacted by his decisions. Each name was a reminder of trust broken. I took risks that no one else would take. I wanted to be seen, to prove I could dominate. Tom watched as Emily took notes earnestly, her brow furrowed in focus. They were no longer just strategically plotting his confrontation. They were redefining their narrative. But at what cost? He questioned, a bitter realization simmering inside him. The sacrifices he made did not yield just financial ruins. They had marred relationships that could never be salvaged. That's what we need to figure out, Emily reasoned, pulling the pen from his hand gently. You can't just take full blame here. There were others involved they were complicit too. True, he conceded, but the weight of accountability still bore down. But I can't shake the feeling that I owe it to them not only to make amends, but also to earn back the trust we've lost, including your trust. Their conversation gradually solidified into a framework, a plan that bound their strengths together. Each moment felt electric, Charged with the promise of what confronting the past could yield. They wouldn't just be reclaiming his past. They'd be building an entirely new future. And then, as if the universe sensed his burgeoning determination, another wave of dread crashed over him. Could he truly expose the hidden depths of his downfall? Would facing his past illuminate a path to redemption? Or would it leave even more scars? "Let us go through those contacts again," Tom said, urgency threading through his tone. "I need to remember everything that went wrong. This is about breaking the cycle." Emily nodded, the fire in her eyes unmistakable. "And then we face whatever comes. Together." Tom drew in a deep breath, ready to immerse himself in this uncomfortable truth-telling. But as he flipped through the pages, a name caught his eye, someone he hadn't thought of in years, someone pivotal to everything. "Wait, the investor," he started, but a door creaked open in his mind. This individual could either grant them a second chance or reinforce everything he dreaded facing. The intensity of this moment bore down on him, and he felt the weight of his decisions pushing him closer to the precipice of his past. He needed to know the next step to take, but the question loomed larger than the fear itself. Could he bear the consequences of his choices, or would this encounter lead to an even darker abyss? All at once he understood. Something monumental was closing in, a turning point that would leave no aspect of his life untouched. As the office clock ticked, marking each second of indecision, Tom's heart raced with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Failure was not an option, but facing it was inevitable. "Tomorrow we go in," he assured Emily, his resolve hardening. "And when we do, we bring everything into the light. No more shadows." Just as he finished, his phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. "We'll be waiting, Tom. You can't run forever." Tom's body tensed, realizing the true depth of his next challenge. How could he reclaim his future when the past was so determined to bring him down? The answer lay just beyond reach, shrouded in uncertainty and fraught with potential disaster. The sun rose, casting a gray light over the city, reflecting Tom's palpable tension. Morning unfolded like any other, but in his gut, he felt the weight of the world pressing down. Emily's lingering presence was a gentle reminder that he was not alone. Yet it did little to quell the dread spiraling infinitely within him. They sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the remnants of breakfast untouched, as Tom sifted through the lists and notes they had compiled the night before. Every name felt like a footstep toward his reckoning, every detail etched in ink, a bridge to confront the past. "I need to be ready for anything," he whispered, looking up at Emily's expectant gaze. "Focus on what you can change," she said softly. "Not everything has to fall on you, Tom." But he could hear the worry in her voice, the stakes they both understood too well. "Isn't that the problem? I've always wanted to take charge, but that bravado impulsively paved my own downfall." He paused, a deeper truth clawing at him. "But maybe it's not just about facing them. Maybe I have to face myself, the reckless person I used to be." A flicker of realization swept through him. It wasn't just about reclaiming trust, it was about reclaiming his identity. If he could confront his decisions, he might finally understand what drove him to those limits. With the knowledge of the past, perhaps he could begin casting away the shadows of his ambition. "Okay, let's outline our approach," Emily said, interrupting his spiraling thoughts. "Who is the first person you need to contact?" The list she handed him mirrored the jumble in his mind. He traced his finger over it and halted at the investor's name, Thomas Ives. A man shrouded in secrets and shadows, much like the specter of Tom's previous life. "He needs to be first," he said, his voice trembling with the intensity of that choice. "But I haven't spoken to him in over 5 years." "Then maybe that's the perfect reason to reach out now," Emily smiled, encouraging. "You also don't have to confront him alone. Let us draft an email together. Your transparency will speak volumes." Tom nodded, but doubt lingered. A part of him questioned whether honesty could repair years of trust broken through deception. As they sat together typing in earnest, he felt the walls slowly beginning to crumble, each keystroke evoking a sense of agency he hadn't felt in years. Just as the email took shape, his phone vibrated again. A notification ping underscored by an unnerving heaviness. Another message from the unknown number didn't advance his sense of stability, but rather spiraled him deeper into restlessness. "More threats?" Emily asked by the tone of his silence, worry creeping into her voice. "No, just a reminder," he replied, reading the ominous words again. The clock is ticking. Everything is set to collide. He let the words sink in. This push to act had now morphed from strategy to urgency. How far would he have to go to secure the future they envisioned? With the draft email completed, he hovered over the send button, every muscle tensed. The commitment loomed larger than the screen. It was exposure, revelation, accountability, all tied to a single click. What if he sees this as weakness? He pondered aloud, the doubt creeping back. Emily leaned in, her hand resting lightly on his. You're not weak for wanting to make things right. You're brave for wanting to change. Send it. Finally, emboldened by her words, he pressed send. The email disappeared into the ether, and with it, a fleeting weight lifted. Fear mingled with exhilaration. Would it be the start of his redemption, or a fervent unraveling of the past? Sitting in the silence of their shared moment, an unexpected thought surfaced in Tom's mind. What if Ives responded aggressively? The stakes were no longer theoretical, they had become real. Tomorrow, he spoke softly, Paul and I have a meeting scheduled to someone else from the old days. He could have insights into Ives. By meeting with him, I might uncover more about my past conversations and decisions. Emily's eyes sparkled with a mixture of pride and trepidation. Are you sure you're ready for that? I'll have to be, Tom replied, the stakes now crystallizing in the air between them. The last threads of his former self were fraying, but the person he could become stood before him, shimmering with possibility. But stepping onto that line meant confronting buried truths in full light. Was he prepared to fulfill his promise of change, no matter what it entailed? As he pondered, another message flashed on his phone, lighting up his screen. This is only the beginning, Tom. As turbulence coursed through him, he realized that answers were just within reach, but at what cost? And who would he have to become to face the truths ahead? The next day arrived with a heaviness that clung to Tom like a second skin. Shadows clung to him, weaving in and out of his mind as he prepared for the meeting with Paul. He fumbled with his tie, feeling the fabric constrict around his neck in a way that mirrored the emotional chokehold anxiety had placed on him. Today was not merely about collecting information. It was a reckoning with who he once was. As he stepped out of his apartment, the city echoed his turmoil, honking cars and distant conversations threading through the air like a cacophony of unresolved issues. He took a deep breath, invigorated by the brisk morning chill but weighted by the knowledge of past mistakes. With each step toward the cafe where they were to meet, he grappled with a burgeoning sense of dread. He was confronting more than just Paul. What had he become since walking away from that world? The person who thrived on ambition and manipulation now stood at the crossroads of redemption and self-loathing. Arriving early, Tom chose a table in the corner, where soft light filtered through the windows, illuminating his thoughts as he waited for Paul. After the uncertainty of recent days, the mundane act of sipping coffee offered little comfort. Time ticked away in a torturous manner, bringing with it regrets and fleeting memories of past indulgences and failures. Tom pulled out his phone, hesitating. Should he text Ives, anticipating what lurked in the shadows? As uncertainty churned inside him, he engaged in an internal debate, fueled by a voice that urged him to take the initiative while knowing it could cause irreparable consequences. Moments later, Paul entered, a familiar face cloaked with age and experience that suggested time had been less forgiving to him. The easy camaraderie they once shared felt frayed now. Each shared memory was weighed down by their divergent paths. When their eyes met, Paul's expression was not merely curious. It was assessing, was Tom truly ready to face the fallout of the past? Tom, Paul greeted cautiously as he approached the table. It's been a while. I didn't know if you'd want to meet, Tom confessed, sensing the awkwardness that enveloped them. I know things ended badly. The silence stretched between them, discomfort palpable. You know I'm not one to shy away from difficult conversations, Paul finally said, settling into the chair opposite Tom. What do you want to talk about? That moment opened the floodgates of introspection. I'm trying to reconcile who I was with who I am now, Tom admitted, voice steady. The time away has forced me to look back without the comfort of denial. Terrifies me. Paul nodded, eyes widening in acknowledgement. You were always ambitious, but when did it become destructive? Tom couldn't pinpoint the exact moment but felt the truth swirl like a storm in his gut. I wanted power, control, all at the expense of my relationships, my morals. I'm hoping to rectify my mistakes, but I don't know if I can. I don't even know where to begin. Paul leaned forward, a seriousness in his demeanor that spoke to the gravity of the conversation. You're already in a better place than you realize, Tom. Acknowledgement is the first step, but it also means confronting those you've wronged. Starting with Ives. What if he doesn't cooperate? Tom's voice shook, vulnerability seeping through. What if he blames me for everything? Ultimately, it's not about his response. It's about your intent. You're facing accountability, and sometimes that's where the true power lies. Do you have a plan? Just honesty, Tom replied quietly. But what I didn't know about myself is how hard it would be to let go. A part of me wants to shield the past, to blame it on others. Letting go is powerful, Tom. It's how you can finally step into your own light. The conversation shifted. Details about mutual acquaintances yielded insights that brought Tom's choices into focus. In these moments he began to comprehend their implications, where he erred not just professionally, but how he had neglected connections that mattered most. As they prepared to part ways, Paul's parting words echoed in Tom's mind. The time had come to face the reckoning, not just with others but with yourself. With that, clarity sparked within him. Walking away from their meeting, Tom felt an unshakable resolve solidify within. He was ready. He had the tools and the purpose. But a sinking feeling crept in. What if confronting Ives unearthed more than his past choices? When he returned home, the flurry of anticipation brought emotion to the surface again. He stared at his phone as another message appeared, this one more insidiously cryptic than before. Face them before they face you. The urgency pressed like a drumbeat in his chest, and he knew that the next step was inevitable. Who would emerge once he confronted those shadows? Would redemption be found in vulnerability? Or would the revelations entrap him further? Tom felt the walls closing in, the moment of truth approaching. Would he find the strength to emerge metamorphosed? Or would he crumble under the weight of his own ghosts? Tom stood in the dim light of his apartment, contemplating the weight of his decision. There was a palpable tension in the air, as if the very walls were breathing in sync with his anxiety. The cryptic message haunted him, echoing in the recesses of his mind. Face them before they face you. A jolt of adrenaline mixed with dread coursed through him. Who were they exactly? And what were the consequences of confronting his past? The hours stretched on, lingering like a disease. Every tick of the clock was a reminder of the inevitability knitting itself around him. He needed to act. Not merely for redemption, but for a sense of control over aspects of his life that had spiraled beyond reach. With resolve tightening his features, Tom grabbed his coat and stepped out again into the bustling city, where throngs of faces blurred together in a tapestry of life that felt foreign. He was no longer a part of that world. Vibrant ambition had morphed into muted reflection. He silently questioned what awaited him in his confrontation with Ives. Would it be hostile? Acknowledging the impact of his past required immense courage. As he approached the cafe where Ives often held court, Tom's stomach twisted. Memories flooded back, the laughter shared over drinks, the treachery lurking just beneath the sheen of camaraderie. He paused on the sidewalk, weighed down by uncertainty. Would Ives see the ghost of the man who had wronged him? He hesitated, fingers tapping against his leg as he contemplated turning back. The very act of facing Ives was an exercise in vulnerability. What if, during this reckoning, he unveiled pieces of himself once buried? There existed a thin line between redemption and the abyss, and Tom teetered upon it. The cafe was alive with chatter, a stark contrast to the tempest swirling inside him. Stepping in was like crossing a threshold into another realm where his previous life still thrived. Voices rang out with laughter, but he felt isolated amid the noise. Spotting Ives at a corner table, surrounded by old colleagues, his heart raced. Just breathe, Tom whispered to himself, a mantra against the storm of doubt and fear. He took a steadying breath and made his way over, emotions crashing within him like waves battering a cliff. Ives, he said, adopting a calmness he didn't quite feel. Ives looked up, the surprise in his eyes quickly morphing into something unreadable. Tom was all he said. But there was weight behind it, a world of past grievances and forgotten camaraderie pressing against the silence. Can we talk? Tom began, his voice edged with a determination that wrestled against the sinking self-doubt. Now. Ives raised an eyebrow, as if weighing the sincerity in Tom's request. Yeah, it's important. He took a seat across from Ives, the space between them instantly feeling like a chasm laden with months of unspoken conflict. How would he craft the bridge? Phrases formed and dissipated in his mind like wisps of smoke, yet honesty seemed to surface loud above the noise. I know I made choices that hurt everyone, including you. Tom started, each word deliberate, driven by a need to peel away the layers of pretense. I want to face accountability and seek forgiveness, but I need to understand how my actions impacted you. The reality of that moment settled into a tangible heaviness, drawing Ives' attention sharply. You've inhaled quite a bit of self-awareness lately, huh? Pain washed over Tom. He could still sense the bitterness of their last encounter still raw. I know it doesn't justify what I did, but I'm not here to deflect blame. I realize I've been running from my past, and I need to confront it. A flicker of something, perhaps doubt or recognition, crossed Ives' face. You're different, he said slowly, eyes narrowing as though gauging Tom's sincerity. Different, better. I hope, Tom replied with tentative resolve. The conversation flowed awkwardly, but gradually gained depth as Tom laid bare the wreckage of ambition that had clouded his judgment. He began to unearth the values he once held close, each revelation a tentative step toward rediscovery. As minutes passed, an unexpected bond began to form, one punctuated by vulnerability and truth. Ives listened, allowing Tom to peel back the layers of his past, and in doing so he found courage to address his own feelings. I was hurt by your choices, Tom, but I also want you to know that it's never too late to change, Ives offered cautiously, mixing resistance with a budding acceptance. Hope flickered within Tom. Could he really affect others positively now? Just when the conversation began to lean toward reconciliation, Tom's phone buzzed with urgency. Another message didn't merely arrive. It screamed for his attention. The final confrontation awaits. Be prepared. This time uncertainty festered anew. What awaited him after this fragile moment of connection? Would he retrace steps toward destruction, or continue to build himself anew? Tom turned to Ives. I needed this talk. I need to know what comes next. Could they both emerge transformed, ready to face whatever shadows lingered? The unknown loomed, and as he awaited Ives' reply, he braced himself for a truth as fierce as any acknowledgement he had faced before. The silence hung heavily in the air, thick with unaddressed emotions. Tom felt a knot forming in his throat, an instinctive response to the tension. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more brewing beneath the surface, something that would change the course of his path moving forward. The words from his phone echoed ominously in the back of his mind. I've studied him for a long moment, his gaze inscrutable. You have to be prepared for what comes next. Change isn't just a sign of growth. It comes with consequences, he finally replied, his voice steady but layered with concern. What do you mean? Tom asked, a hint of apprehension creeping into his tone. Ives leaned back in his chair, folding his arms across his chest. You've admitted you were selfish, but do you really understand the impact on those around you? It's not just about your redemption. It's about everyone you left behind. Tom shifted uneasily, the weight of Ives' words resonating with his own fears. He had been so focused on his personal journey that the ramifications of those decisions on others had often eluded him. He had long thought pursuing a better version of himself was a solitary endeavor, but now he was beginning to see it through a different lens. Then how do I repair what's broken? Tom questioned, his voice a mix of determination and vulnerability. It was no longer just about rebuilding his life. He was also looking to mend the threads he had carelessly severed in pursuit of success. By being honest with yourself and those you've affected. Start small. A conversation, an apology, maybe even some action. Ives suggested pragmatically, his expression softening, portraying a flicker of hope amid the seriousness of their situation. Tom nodded, absorbing the advice. And what if they don't want to hear it? What if my attempts to make amends are rejected? Then you have to own that too. Growth is about accepting failure, not just celebrating success. Remember, it's not about who you used to be. It's about who you choose to be now, Ives replied, his words forming a guide that penetrated Tom's defenses, urging him toward a new perspective. As they spoke, Tom's resolve began to crystallize. The path ahead might be treacherous, but it felt necessary. Each moment spent in this discussion was layering him with newfound strengths. But the pulse of incoming messages rattled him again. Glancing at his phone, dread loomed within at the culmination of what was to come. "I wish I could talk to you about everything," he said, turning the focus back to Ives. "But there are things weighing heavily on my mind. I can feel it, a storm brewing." Ives softened his gaze, recognizing the turmoil that lay within. "There's a narrative in every struggle, Tom. Every person you face and every dialogue you initiate could serve as part of your turning point. Embrace it with honesty. Begin with what you know." Tom nodded, contemplating his next steps. The act of confronting those he had wronged weighed heavily on him, yet there was an unmistakable urge to rise above the circumstances brought forth by his own negligence. Conversations weaved into his thoughts, possibilities of redemption swirled, making it clear he had work ahead. As they walked out of the cafe, a flurry of emotions bubbled underneath his calm facade. They stepped onto the sidewalk, the rush of the city surrounding them. "Remember," Ives said as they paused at the corner, "the time has come to face your past, but also to embrace your future. It's where you truly start again." Tom looked at Ives, a mix of gratitude and anticipation coursing through him. "Thanks for this, really." He was cut off by a sudden jab of panic from his phone vibrating angrily in his pocket again. Another urgent text flashed across the screen. "They're gathering. Don't wait too long." The finality in that message reverberated through him, and a shiver broke through his resolve. Suddenly the air crackled with urgency. He felt as if he were standing at the brink of a precipice, just before the leap. "Let us do this," he declared, newly emboldened yet starkly aware of the uncertainties ahead. "I need to face this, whatever it entails." But as he turned to file the first nightmarish confrontation, he hesitated. What if he wasn't enough? And those shadows that loomed larger consumed him again. Was he truly ready to unravel the truth of his past? Or would this gamble cost him everything? With the city pulsating around them, Tom steeled himself to move forward into the unknown, knowing that each step brought him closer to the ultimate encounter. The only thing he could do now was decide how much he was willing to fight for his own redemption. As they navigated through the bustling streets, Tom battled a torrent of emotions. The images of memories long buried surged forward, overlapping with the weight of the present moment. Each person they passed seemed to echo the ghosts of his past ex-partners, old friends, and even family patterns he had abandoned in pursuit of ambition. What were they feeling? What scars had he left behind? Ives walked alongside him, the quiet support both grounding and unnerving. Tom stole glances, seeking guidance but often met with an inscrutable expression. It was as if Ives could sense the seismic shifts within him. Choosing to engage with those he wronged felt like standing on a tightrope, teetering between hope and despair. They reached a park, a stark contrast to the city's frenetic energy. The symphony of chirping birds and laughter from children lent a sense of tranquility, albeit ephemeral. Tom inhaled sharply, filling his lungs with the scent of fresh grass, an inadvertent reminder of the innocence of youth he had so carelessly discarded. "Where do I even start?" he muttered under his breath, the question bubbling with uncertainty. "Where it matters most," Ives replied steadily, his eyes locked onto Tom's. "Identify the relationships that weigh heavily on your heart. Those are the conversations that will hold the most weight in your journey to make amends." Tom's mind raced. Could he truly repair the fractured bond with his daughter, a connection obscured by years of neglect? The thought twisted inside him, knowing she deserved more than a flurry of half-hearted attempts. He had compromised so much of their time together, prioritizing misguided pursuits over genuine connections. "I need to speak to Clara," he admitted, the name rolling off his tongue like unkind words left unsaid for far too long. "But how? What if she doesn't want to see me?" "Then you show up anyway," Ives encouraged, a fierce determination rising in his voice. "You lay bare your truth. Vulnerability is the key. It's not about guaranteeing a harmonious reunion but about being real, minimizing the gap between who you were and who you are now." The gravity of those words struck Tom deeply. He mustered his resolve. Clara had grown up without him, her formative years shaped by shadows of absence. The letters he had written, the gifts left unopened, these symbols of his love had become weighty reminders of his failings. He was not prepared to be met with forgiveness, but he owed it to her to show up, to be seen, however she chose to respond. As they walked out of the park, Tom felt lighter yet more burdened than ever. The path before him was littered with the shards of his past decisions, waiting for him to negotiate a delicate truce. Just as he was concocting a plan, his phone buzzed again. An unknown number flashed on the screen. A knot tightened in his stomach. "Are you going to check it?" Ives inquired, an eyebrow raised. Tom hesitated, the excitement mingling with fear. "No. This isn't the time." The decision sent a surge through him. It felt as though he was beginning to differentiate between distractions and priorities, an unexpected insight amidst emotional chaos. With each step, he walked toward an inevitable confrontation, assembling the pieces of courage he had painstakingly cultivated. Yet beneath that resolve lurked a question that begged attention. Could he truly embrace the vulnerability that lay ahead, or would fear once again cast him into the familiar shadows? "Tom," I've said, breaking the silence. "Real growth is achieved through uncomfortable conversations. Regardless of the outcome with Clara, don't underestimate the power of honesty." Unsure of where this journey might lead him, Tom nodded, a blend of anxiety and anticipation igniting his determination. As they continued their path to whatever awaited him next, the air around him felt charged, pulsating with both dread and hope. He still had one more decision to make. Would he finally let go of the past and open up to the possibility of healing, or would he retreat into his carefully constructed shell, where secrets lingered and connection was a fleeting dream? In that moment, he recognized the precipice before him. This could very well define who he would become. He was more than his past. He was on the cusp of a rebirth, and the next conversation might reveal transformative truths. The weight of that possibility hung in the air as they approached his first destination. An instant later, a familiar voice pierced through the crowd. "Dad, wait." Tom turned, heart racing, as he saw Clara standing amidst the throng. This wasn't just any chance meeting, it was his moment. A crucial crossroads where everything he had been fighting for collided into a single point of existential clarity. Tom's heart raced as he locked eyes with Clara, her familiar features now cloaked in uncertainty. He had imagined this moment countless times, choosing his words carefully like a delicate architect planning a massive structure. Now, as his daughter stood there, a swirl of emotions cascaded within him. Would she see beyond the years of neglect and chaos? "Clara," he uttered, the name tinged with longing and remorse. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice hesitant yet edged with a vulnerability that mirrored his own. Tom swallowed hard, searching for the right words. "I want to talk to you about everything," he began, conscious of the hover of anticipation hanging in the air between them. "I know I've hurt you, and I'm sorry for not being the father you deserved. I want to make amends. Do you really think you can just walk back into my life after all this time?" Clara's eyes burned with both anger and sadness, a perfect storm of emotion exposed. "I don't expect it to be easy," Tom confessed, stepping closer as though to bridge the years that lay between them. "But denying the impact of my absence is no longer an option. I realize now that my ambitions overshadowed my duty to you, and it tore us apart." He watched for her reaction, pausing as the raw honesty settled. "I was blinded by my own drive for success, but that doesn't justify abandoning you. I've spent so long chasing after what I thought was important, and now I understand what I've lost." Clara's gaze softened slightly, as the wall she'd erected began to tremble under the weight of his sincerity. "You think apologies fix everything? You think you can just step back in and everything will be fine?" "No, I don't," Tom replied firmly. "But I want to invest the time needed to rebuild what we lost. You're the most important part of my life that I neglected. I'm ready to listen, learn, and be whatever you need me to be as your father, but I can't do it alone." His words hung in the air like a fragile promise, marked by vulnerability. Clara's expression flickered between ambivalence and a flicker of hope, a moment in which Tom could see the potential for a bridge to form, however precariously. "I don't know," she finally murmured, scanning his face for signs of authenticity. "Feels like it's too late." Tom shook his head, his heart pounding as he wrestled with himself. "It's never too late. I refuse to let our past dictate the potential of our future. I understand I need to prove to you that I mean this." His voice trembled slightly, urgency weaving through each word. "Give me a chance to show you how I've changed." How I see you now, not as an extension of my success, but as an individual with your own aspirations." Her silence was deafening, yet Tom felt it laced with an undercurrent of possibility. He had taken the first step, raiding the fortress of their fractured relationship with a weapon of truth. Clara crossed her arms, her expression measured. "Fine. But you have to understand this isn't just about you anymore. I need to see if you're willing to fight for us." The burden lifted slightly. This was a path forward, however uncertain. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," he affirmed, his voice stealing with resolve. "Let us start fresh. You guide me and I'll show you I'm committed." As they stood, emotions shared in the air, Tom reflected on how far he had come in this moment. Just a few days prior, he was drowning in the shadows of his past decisions. Now, standing before the very person he had neglected, he felt a profound transformation surging within him, an awakening fueled by honesty and commitment. "I'll think about it," Clara replied, the caution still glimmering in her eyes. But there was a hint of something warmer, a beacon of trust waiting to be reignited. "Thank you," he breathed, the gratitude sweeping over him. He understood that nothing could be assured yet, but this single encounter felt monumental, a crucial seed planted for healing. As Clara turned to leave, Tom's heart surged with profound hope, the first step taken in healing years of discord. The love he had neglected was beginning to thaw the icy barrier he'd built around himself. "Wait," he called, his words echoing through the air. "I need you to know I'm here. I'm ready to fight for us, no matter how long it takes." He watched as she paused, glancing back, a wary smile forming on her lips. "I'll hold you to that." Her words danced like a gentle promise, a flicker of the connection that had once defined them. With each passing moment, Tom felt the remnants of his past start to dissolve further, replaced by something tangible and real, an honest commitment forged from truth. He was ready to step into this new phase, a much-deserved chance to foster genuine relationships, redefine his life, and embrace the unyielding notion that rebirth can sometimes emerge from the most turbulent struggles. He turned away from the park with a heart full of newfound determination and clarity. This was just the beginning. If you resonate with Tom's story of transformation and healing, you need to subscribe now for more inspiring journeys. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to fuel our journey together. Comment your thoughts on this powerful conclusion. Your voices matter in this community. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible transformation.